the bottle in your shower, the word printed on it. That word is Hindi. It means press, and for about 100 years after Europeans first heard it, it had absolutely nothing to do with hair. Here is how one word traveled from ancient Sanskrit, through the bathhouses of colonial India, into every supermarket on the planet. To understand where shampoo comes from, you need to picture northern India in the 1700s. The Mughal Empire is in its final decline. British traders and soldiers are everywhere, especially through the East India Company, and they are encountering a culture with very different ideas about body care. In Indian tradition, champi, the head and scalp massage, is not a luxury. It is a medical practice. Barbers perform it on street corners. Families do it at home. Ayurvedic medicine has recommended it for centuries as a way to move blood, release tension, and restore what Sanskrit texts called vital energy. The practice involves pressing, kneading, and percussing the scalp and upper body with the hands. It is vigorous, it is intentional, and it comes from a very specific word. The Hindi word is champo. It is the imperative form of the verb champna, which means to press or knead the muscles. Go back further and you reach Sanskrit, where capayati means to pound or knead. This is an ancient word, baked into the medical and physical culture of the subcontinent for a very long time. The British did not invent any of this. They just discovered it, used it, and eventually brought the word home. The first documented appearance of the word in English comes from 1762, and the source is remarkably specific. A surgeon named Ives was traveling aboard an East India Company vessel and recorded the experience of receiving a shampoo in detail. That same year, a text called A Voyage to the East Indies, written by Friar Paulinus, described the practice thoroughly enough that historians can trace exactly what was being talked about. The definition recorded at the time was to massage, rub, and percuss the surface of the body to restore tone and vigor. That is a medical description. There's no soap, there's no water, there's no hair. Now, here is where a specific person becomes important. Sake Din Mahomed. Born in Patna, India in 1759, he served under the East India Company before eventually emigrating to Britain. He settled in Brighton, and in 1814, he opened a business called the Shampooing Vapor Massage Bath. This was not a hair salon. It was a therapeutic bathhouse where Mahomed offered what he called shampooing, which meant Indian-style massage treatments using steam and manual pressure. His clients included members of the British aristocracy. He eventually became the shampooing surgeon to both King George IV and King William IV. The word shampoo appears on his advertising, on his signage, and in his own 1822 book, Shampooing, or Benefits Resulting from the Use of the Indian Medicated Vapor Bath. He is the central figure in carrying this word from colonial India into mainstream British vocabulary. By the time the earliest dictionary records appear, around 1828, shampoo means massage. It means a physical treatment. The word is English now, but the meaning is entirely Indian. The Hair Washing Association does not appear in recorded text until 1860, nearly a century after the word entered English. What changed? The practice shifted. As European bathing culture evolved and the Indian massage tradition got filtered and simplified for Western consumers, the word got narrower. The vigorous kneading became lathering. The full body attention became scalp only. The practice became a product. And by 1954, the word had extended further still, now applied to washing carpets and upholstery. Same root, very different room. Here is where most people have the story completely backwards. The common assumption is that shampoo is a Western product that got exotic branding somewhere along the way, or that the word is just one of those vague colonial borrowings with a murky past. Neither is true. The word is not vague at all. It is precise. Champo in Hindi is a command. It means press. The British who received head massages in India and came back talking about having had a shampoo were using the word correctly. They were describing pressure applied to the body. The confusion only starts when that physical meaning gets dropped and replaced with a product category. The bottle came last. The word came from hands on a scalp in 18th century India, passed through the medical vocabulary of the British colonial world, and arrived in the 20th century stripped of almost everything that made it meaningful in the first place. The original meaning has not completely disappeared. In South Asian communities, the word champi is still used today to refer to a head massage, and it is recognizably the same root. Indian head massage is now offered in spas across Europe and North America, often marketed under its own name, separate from the shampoo aisle entirely. The two things, the word and the practice, split apart in Western culture and then partially reunited when the practice itself became a wellness product. There's also the curious case of everyday language. In British English especially, to shampoo a carpet or a car interior still means to clean it by working a product into the surface with pressure and friction. That mechanical meaning Pressing something into a material is much closer to the Hindi original than your morning hair routine is. The carpet shampooer has more in common with Dean Mohammed's bathhouse clients than you might expect. The Sanskrit root cap, meaning to press or pound, connects to a family of words across South Asian languages. In Bengali, in Marathi, in Punjabi, you find related words for pressing and kneading that share this ancestry. This is not a small regional word. It is part of a deep linguistic current running through the subcontinent's medical and physical vocabulary. The cultural impact is harder to measure but just as real. Sake Dean Mohammed's story in particular is a remarkable thread in British history. He was also the first Indian author to publish a book in English, his 1794 memoir, The Travels of Dean Mohammed. He opened what is widely considered the first Indian restaurant in Britain, the Hindustani Coffee House in London in 1810. The man associated with bringing the word shampoo into British cultural life was also pioneering the presence of Indian cuisine and Indian literature in Europe. The word is a small part of a much larger story about what moved between India and Britain in the colonial period and what got kept, transformed, and forgotten along the way. What shampoo shows us is how a word can carry the ghost of a practice long after the practice itself has changed. Every time someone works conditioner into their hair with their fingertips, there is a faint echo of champna in the motion. The pressing, the kneading, the Sanskrit instruction issued across 3,000 years, still faintly audible underneath the modern label. If this kind of linguistic archaeology interests you, subscribe and hit the bell. Next time, we are looking at another everyday English word that turns out to be a borrowing from a completely unexpected language, with a meaning that has drifted so far from its origin that the original speakers would not recognize it at all.